Oh, hello. What's up, twin? Hey, girl. What's up? Hey, y'all. So, before the lights, before the views, before the nails, before the spiraling, I was just Eddie. A Southern Gent with a soft heart, sharp wit, and a story that I was still figuring out and figuring out how to tell with the help of me, the intrusive thoughts. I struggled telling my story properly because why? Mostly because the perfectionist Capricorn just can't be perfect. So it was hard updating others, my friends, and also many other folks who have come along the way. I absolutely did not think that people noticed or even that people cared. I had folks who would listen or ask about even the podcast or TikToks or any of that. Um, so I ended up going silent, but I was here in my space, and this space was once my safe space to be vulnerable, to feel seen, to be valued, to feel confident without it being taken as arrogant. So my closest environments were dealing with their own crisis. Like America got some problems, right? But so did almost every aspect of my life. And it was dealing with like racism, erasure, transphobia, and even higher to like global issues, baby. So for almost 2 decades, I was able to like escape politics almost in a kind of way because of my HIV work. It was very safe. Like I said, there was something that was impactful in my own sanity, being able to give and share my gifts and be able to receive at the same time. And HIV work has always had my heart. But I knew I needed to figure some stuff out. And it was Will Packer's book. In it, he talked about not necessarily leaving your lane, but knowing what your lane is and widen it, joint. Like it can get a little bit bigger. It doesn't have to stay the same. And I'm not a one trick pony. I've always been kind of like a multi hyphenate. Even in my advocacy, I was doing like my artistic work, and it was in Kiki Keep a Job Palmer. Her book, she talked about balance and going off script when like life throws you a curveball on your perfect little plan. So I already had been thinking about where I was in my advocacy, and I don't hate where I'm at. And I knew I needed to pivot. Um, so I cut off the world. I was getting overwhelmed through a lot of like internal, external, societal, and governmental pressures. I cut all that off, and I tried to focus on work, on family, friends, my spirit, my identity, and also my art. Like all of these things were in influx and in such chaos I couldn't comprehend. Um, so yeah, I knew I needed to pivot, and the TikToks were there initially to start off as like a to help kind of ease through the COVID times, but they weren't meant to be an internet sensation. Like no shade to any other TikTok artist or any artist that was discovered on TikTok, but no, but I didn't want to be in Kroger. Hey, hey, hey! Ain't you that dude or woman? Oh yeah, from that movie. Yeah, 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 yeah. Tina Turner from TikTok. So I esteemed to be a thespian, darling. Lawrence Hamilton stamped me as Edward Decorian, perfectly capable of killing any dramatic performance. And here I was getting noticed from beauty supply wigs and bad drag, which isn't even my drag. TikTok is something different. Learn about Kelly Cassadine. If you know, you know. So TikTok brought out a lot of my creative expression while also trying to bring a little joy to everybody else in their world. So I got cool with maybe being noticed from TikTok. So I started to think back, and it was really interesting because TikTok was the place where, although I, had a negative view on what TikTok would be in my artistry, it honestly pulled me back into thinking of when did I first fall in love with even creating, like not even just recreating scenes from movies or TV shows, but just creating in general. And it was always in me from when I was wearing t-shirts as wigs as a toddler, or to fifth grade performances. Shout out to my fifth grade teacher, Ernestine Campbell, and my mom, who helped like creating outfits and even taking me to those performances. But there was something about this dream of mine from one of my first memories that I can even think of. Like, I knew what I wanted to be when I was in kindergarten. I've always wanted to be Claudia Barr. If you don't know, that's Memphis's Oprah, the queen of Fox 13, the ultimate influence of my character, Dominique Sinclair. And in this reflection, I realized that every job or gig that I've ever taken has been super impactful on the next. So it either gave me like a life skill or some type of career skill, a career move, or something that let me know that I was on the right path. So I've done my bid in advocacy. It's been a huge blessing, and I'm not leaving. As I mentioned before, like I'm just expanding my lane. I've cultivated that baby for as long as any parent would. I'm kicking myself out. Chill. Not really. What I really want to do is nurture their art that represents this era, this evolved version of who people have come to know who Eddie is. And I want to share with you a little bit about where I've been, what I've been working on, why I went silent, and where we're going in the near future, like near future. So let me tell you how we got here. Now, my art is an extension of me, period. Not a trend, not a gimmick, not even a side hustle. I really just started monetizing my content. I told y'all it wasn't for that. So my art is a full-bodied spiritual experience, baby. I operate out of love, and I only move when the spirit tells me to move. I'm like Sade in that. If the spirit don't move and tell me like this is something I need to put out, then I ain't putting it out, or I ain't even doing it. Like I that that don't work for me no more. And even when the spirit tell me to do it, I'm asking for confirmation. What you saying, ancestors? Like that's been my protection, like a self full boundary. I was deep in the trenches of people pleasing, and I'd already been in the deepest of the trenches of like a life of service, basically handing out buddy passes to my piece. And as someone living a life of service to all mankind, I didn't know how to say no without glitching. Another reason I needed to decrease my advocacy. But now we setting boundaries without apologizing, baby. Don't grab on me or my hair. Don't ask me for no money and you owe me from the last time. And the time before that. And the time before that. But most importantly, do not set a narrative on my life that I ain't told you. I've come to learn that people have had a few misconceptions about me, and I can't blame them. I didn't even know they were having them. I told you, I didn't even know people were. I knew people were watching and knew of me. It's just I didn't know that people were watching. So I was out here living it up, and you can only take what I give, like that. But yeah, a lot of folks haven't met the full me, mostly because I was still meeting him myself. I was in mid evolution, mid breakdown, mid breakthrough. And I had to remember, many of you are new here. Welcome. So you're not alone. Everybody's new to this Nova era. Hell, even me learning how to exist in it. So the Southern Gent podcast was my little refuge. It was a place for me to share space and thoughts for those who cared. And the ones that care matter. And those that don't, you know the rest. It was for those who cared to hear it from the horse's mouth. It was my way of telling my story before somebody else tried, and most times would get it wrong. It reminded me of the time when I first told of my HIV diagnosis, which is when I first started to feel like I was over explaining or oversharing. And it wasn't like a negative thing. It was more so like this can be of testimony to someone else. However, the narrative was out of my hands due to due to a very popular time in my life when I was getting recognition for the work that I was doing and a few affiliations that I was involved with. But I remember Mildred, also remember my Jennifers telling me that, you have to write the own narrative, your own narrative to your story. Like, don't let anybody else take that from you. Because most times they'll get it wrong. And if they don't get it wrong, they added something to it. And like Whitney said in Sparkle, sister, if you're gonna tell my tragic story, give me the honor of getting it right. Now listen, I was not on no real influencer life when I started doing those TikToks. Like I said, people really believed that I was like chasing some type of clout, and honestly was not. I was ducking my head from a lot of the issues that was going on. Sometimes at work, sometimes with my family, sometimes with my own life, projecting what other people were onto, projecting things onto myself that other people didn't even say. It was what I thought that they were thinking. So it was just a wild time, especially when it came down to wearing wigs, having the nails. People were calling me non-binary. It was just like, whoa, wait. I got a lot going on in my own personal life. The world needs to wait. The world couldn't wait. So what do? I'm good at making people laugh. I knew that I wanted to do the TikToks because at first I was super adamant against even downloading the platform. And I told y'all at that time I wanted to start acting, and I didn't think about being a comedic actor. So I wanted to do some dramas. Lynn Whitfield. I wanted Angela Bassett to tell me, "Hey, get that home and let him be my co-star." Angela Bassett went on TikTok asking guys to be her co-star. So that wasn't my dream. And when it started taking off, especially when the guy who posted the Tina Turner video, they got like millions and millions of views. I was like, oh, wait a minute. So listen, I told y'all I was doing the TikToks, and at the same time I was doing the podcast. But I only started doing those TikToks because of the height of COVID, and I was just trying to survive like everybody else. I was visiting home because I was shamed after that news interview, which totally threw me for a public health loop. Okay, talk about publicity. So me and my best friend were sitting at home at his house doing our norm, drinking, smoking blacks, and probably rocking out singing, child. And I just felt this like extreme heaviness over me. Like my own life was chaotic. My best friend's life was chaotic. Story for another day. And the world was, you already know. So yeah, I'm a real empath. And I was having a hard time seeing so many people I cared about having a hard time. Losing people that they loved, and having mental health struggles due to being locked in. It was like survivor's remorse a little bit in so many ways. One of the biggest ways is that Atlanta was open, so Auntie was still outside. So what could I do? I was already doing social media videos like Vines and a few other like comical things, even quick little snippets on Facebook. I was the social media guy for my company and for a lot of other things because millennials was the young thing. Gen Z, just playing. I love y'all. So I was trying to do the thing I knew best. So this time I was trying to use a gift of mine that saved me so many times. My real superpower is a hug, but laughter is a close second. I wanted to share a little light during the darkness, even though it was like a super sad time. But the TikToks kind of got a little popular, and Auntie ain't know what to do. All I wanted to do was make people laugh and make the world a better place, even through the sadness. I wanted to do this through my work, my art, my advocacy, and even get closer to my family, physically get closer and spiritually. And yes, that still happened. I left Atlanta to come home and work for the state. And I mean, it was fine until it wasn't. Moving home really meant like shaking up some things, shaking up some wounds from pain that I thought I had physically left before moving to Atlanta in 2018. And what else? It meant having to answer to people asking or saying, like, I knew he wasn't going to make it. It meant having to step back into a world that knew the Eddie that would leave bed rest after a surgery to come support your shindig and then get set up. Gaslit, child. Or it was the Eddie that spruced up your resume, gave you a ride, let you stay at his house, woke up to the police banging at his door at 3 o'clock for something he didn't even know about, or helped you get your first job in public health. The Eddie that worked for free at your event while you walked out with fat pockets. The Eddie that would give you the shirt off of his back, literally. Well, sometimes literally. These titties need to be free. But anyway, they knew the no boundaries, Walmart ass edition of Eddie. And that was who I had become. All the while fighting through my identity crisis and trying to find boundaries of wanting to be of service, wanting to be connected to community, because at the time, or still, I don't work directly with the community unless it's through like a part-time stuff that I do. So it was hard trying to have that sense of community when a lot of my other communities had not shunned me, some had, but didn't understand where I was or placing a narrative on me that I so willingly hopped into. So it, so I don't blame nobody. I was going through some stuff and didn't have no fight to fight against the narrative. So getting back to West Memphis, it was interesting because working on those boundaries, getting them put in motion. Most people knew Edward in West Memphis and even in Memphis. I was out ish, but nothing like who I am today. I had a lot of internal fear, and it was mostly fear around coming back into what others thought of me. I had been wearing nail polish. I had bought lipstick and dabbled in wigs outside of drag. Ooh. But I guess it confused people. They ain't know what to make of me, child. Did he transition? Is he non-binary? They? It was basically, is you a boy or a girl? Why you get your nails done? And why they long? But what really threw me for a loop, I know he like pots and pans, but what is he like now? It became too much. Too much pressure from work, pressure from comments, pressure from family, pressure from the world. Comments from people I ain't even know. So what did I do? I went silent. And I mean real quiet. Like I'm telling y'all, I'm still Eddie. Edward. Or Eddie Weddy. We're all one, by the way. I don't have a lot of voices in my head. It's just the one West Memphis side of me that's in there. So life really happened in 2021. Summer of 2021 to be specific. It was really difficult at that period of time. I lost a few anchors, a few lifelines, a few folks who had really poured into me, and I thought I knew grief. That bitch is egregious. But I had never met grief like that. And of course, the Capricorn in me, thinking I can handle it all, go back to work, do all these things. The world had stopped. What work was I going to go back to? So it was hard dealing with the folks that I lost. And it was really, it started with Mildred. Um, early summer of 2021. And when she passed, it felt like the life, it felt like the wind had been knocked out of me. Mildred was the one who helped me get comfortable with my HIV diagnosis because I had been working in the field for about 7, 8 years. And I feel like she was the first person to tell me I needed to share with someone else. Like I couldn't hold that within. And me sharing with her was what I thought I could just get a handle on. But she was the one who told me about the light that I had, and others would be able to see that. And it would be a testament to not only my own strength, but the strength of the Lord, the strength of our community, the strength of just perseverance. And so when she passed, that was hard. And I think around the same time, my best friend from college, my sister, literally the anchor, she was my anchor, soulmate. She had been in the hospital for other um, health issues. And of course, when she passed, it was no recovery. I'd already not recovered from Mildred passing. I think I had gotten through the summer thanks to people. That was the summer I participated in my first drag pageant and got scammed by my cousin, gay cousin. So I had that to go back to because work sucked and I was at the state, right? So a lot of stuff was going on. Did the drag pageant and didn't even want to do that because at that time my grandmother had just had a stroke. We didn't know what was going on. At that point, they had taken her to the hospital. And so I'm driving to Little Rock. Everybody's telling me, don't let us down. You know, you can do it. And here I am driving to Little Rock to compete in a pageant after everyone's telling me, like, you know, your grandmother will want this. She's going to be fine. She's going to be fine. Something in my heart of hearts knew that she wouldn't. Um, So I'm having these issues, but I was still okay because I had the troops rallying support. People were donating, organizations were donating, people were sending cheerful messages. I was competing in my first pageant. So I was excited, yet highly depressed, highly sad, highly suicidal, highly emotional, crashing out. So around the same time, within a matter of a week or two, my grandmother passed, then Selena passed, then my uncle passed, a close colleague, like I said, that became family passed. It just went on and on and on and on and on for at least 3 to 4 additional weeks. Like every week I was going to a funeral. I was like pushing myself to like get in the zone, autopilot, get in the zone, auto zone. I was really in autopilot, and that was hard. Grief had hit the bitch who was finally learning that he shined and sparkled even outside of sequence. Some of the people that I lost were absolutely folks who lit that light, who lit that candle, that helped me light the fire to the world. I coped the best way I knew how at the time. I partied and I drank and rebelled. Think Britney Spears. Think Lindsay Lohan. Very Mariah Carey. Definitely Miley. I blamed everybody and anything. And I actually went back to those old ass Capricorn ways that I tried to hide. Judge yourself. I spent the next few years masking grief as laughter, doing TikToks, hosting events, coming to people shit. But I wasn't putting a lot out there. I had basically stopped doing content and the podcast, and wish the podcast were there to showcase the people that inspire me, but to also share tidbits and a glimpse into my own life. It was like my Barbara Walters way of telling y'all how I was feeling about the world or what I was curious about. They were kind of hidden in my questions, kind of. But now I'm here to tell the whole truth, to get the full truth. So here we are, Suge. A new season. And this season of the Southern Gent promises to be bold and beautiful and a little bit insecure, but give a flavor of love. Because love is the drum. That's the beat that we should all follow. I'm bringing on guests that shake the table, guests that lead quietly in major movements, and everybody in between. But most of all, you're going to get me, the Southern Gent, Edward Eddie Wilder. Still shocked that folks don't know Eddie is a nickname. So I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the stuff. It's probably ADHD. So expect this season to unveil layers that you've never seen. Is that it's going to be very Oprah. Think Connie Chung, Barbara Walters, 2020 special. It's a new day, baby. I may have been quiet, but I wasn't gone. I was growing. And now I'm fired up and ready to go. Now I haven't decided the frequency, but you can expect monthly. But you should also appreciate when you get more. I've already lined up some great guests to dish about the scandals of my own life. Drag, church, HIV work, Greek shit. I'm going to be answering questions that I'm constantly asked. Are you dating? Do you like cooter? And a glimpse into where I'm going on this orbit. And I'd actually absolutely love to have you on, especially if you have something to share or if you want to promote your book, your wedding, your BBL, your divorce. I don't know. I don't care. Just hit me up and let's collab, boo. You can follow I Am Eddie W on TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, the Twitter, but most importantly, YouTube. YouTube is where I'm going to primarily release the podcast. Oh, never mind. Scratch that. So I started editing the video, and something told me as I sipped my morning coffee, you know what? Do a Patreon. You've been wanting to do a lot of other content. You're looking for funding for other things because you want to pay people to help you with your dreams. So I'm working on a writer, I'm working on editors, working on videographers. I want to develop a show, some documentaries, all kind of things. Actually, the Southern Gent will be more like a documentary. So like I said, 2020 specials, but this will take support. So on Patreon, you can find full access to everything. You can find some free content as well as some content by joining. There will be a reasonable fee. Reasonable. I ain't trying to bust your pockets, but absolutely check out Patreon. You'll find almost everything there. You can also find out how to contact me on my online card. It's iamedw.carrd.co. Expect a full site soon. And I'm still looking for management. If you know of someone, hit me up. The main goal is to get more acting roles, but I'm also available for MCing, celebrity illusion drag, a little stand-up, creative writing, and yes, even some HIV consulting. So stay tuned, hit me up, share my but most of all, be peace, carry light, and know that you're loved. Ciao for now.